Jacinta Dubojski is an anti-bullying advocate and the founder of the Just Another Girl project. Jacinta visits primary schools and colleges as a motivational speaker and shares her story. Jacinta was recently awarded the ACT Lifeline Woman of Spirit Award for her work, and Jacinta has spoken with over 600 young people about her lived experience of bullying, mental health, low self-esteem, and domestic violence. Welcome, Jacinta, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Tim.
That's all right. So, where did you grow up?
So, Tim, I'm actually from Albury-Wodonga. So, some people actually have a bit of a funny thing. They say, oh, so is that two towns in one? No, it's not. There's a Murray River that goes right through our town and divides the New South Wales and Victorian border. So I actually, first few years of my life as a very young one was in Holbrook in New South Wales, and then my family moved to Albury when I was probably four or 5 years old and begun my schooling in Albury.
So Holbrook, the home of the submarine?
Absolutely. Yes, an enormous big submarine. Yep, that's about all that's there.
I miss going through Holbrook now on the highway because you don't get to see the submarine anymore.
The bypass.
Yes, exactly. All those towns down there.
Towns, yep.
So, brothers and sisters?
One younger sister, Belinda, 2 years younger, even though I think I look younger. She'll enjoy this. 2 years younger and Belinda, one sister.
So what sort of child were you growing up?
Oh, look, I'd like to say I was perfect, but Mum will laugh and go, absolutely not. I just adventurous, loved to play, climb trees, athletics, loved quite a good runner. So I did some, Riverina for athletics carnivals and things like that. Love swimming. So in the country. So growing up Albury-Wodonga, it was very much the Murray River, the Hume Dam, which is a big pond of water, not overly clean, but still when it's a hot day and it gets 40 degrees in the middle of summer, the dry heat of regional New South Wales, any type of water will do to cool down.
I was in Albury very recently, and my first thing was to go to the hotel pool because it was so hot there.
Yes.
Very hot.
The dry heat. Similar to Canberra here.
Yes.
The summers can be a scorcher.
So is Albury where you went to school as well?
I did. So my family, we actually lived just outside of Albury, a little suburb called Thaguna, which probably about 5-10 kilometres outside of Albury, and did my primary school there and then continued on to high school at a Seventh-day Adventist Christian school doing my high schooling. Yeah, so which was quite different from a public primary school to a private Christian school. Not being Christian myself, but that was something that Mum and Dad chose to be in smaller classrooms and a bit more in tuition.
So how was school for you?
Yeah, so look, this is something, Tim, that's reason why I go and do talks in schools of present. Primary school I sailed through pretty good. It was no problems. High school was a little bit different. So I'm actually 6'2", almost 6'2", so 187 centimetres. For a girl, that's tall. And school was probably not my best experience with, unfortunately, bullying. I mean, it wasn't just me that was bullied in school. There were other students as well that were the brunt of it. But I only ever, Mum and Dad and even my grandparents just said, Jacinta, treat people how you choose to be treated. So I never sort of thought, let's go to school and be mean to someone. Let's go to school and pick on someone. I went to school and you learn, and Mum and Dad paid a lot of money to go to this private school. And I just tried hard. I struggled a bit at school, I think, because of the bullying, to try and focus on, your subjects, your exams, your assessments, your projects, all of that, your tests that come with each subject and as it gets harder and harder as you go up in the years. But the biggest mistake I made, which I like to tell girls today and teenage boys, is I kept my pain in silence. So through the years of bullying from year 7 right through to 12, Mum would say, Jacinta, how was school? So I'd come home from school, how was school? Have the Milo and the little treat or whatever after school. And yeah, it was fine, Mum. All good. A very different story. So I'd actually go into my room, close the door, and I'd actually cry. I'd have a huge, big expel of tears. As I said, I'm not a Christian, but I used to think, I hope God's up there, because I started praying. I actually used to pray, God, can they please not bully me tomorrow? Can they just please let off and just not give me such a hard time? Because it was hard.
At that age, did you understand why they were bullying you? Do you have any insight into it at all at that age?
So above average height. So I suppose because I was things like giant, Bigfoot, freakishly tall, storf, all this kind of giraffe.
And you found that the people who were doing the bullying were then bullying other people who had that difference about them, and that they wanted to point out and say, I'm going to bully you because and one of those is you're fat or something like that.
Yeah. So there was sort of one or two main perpetrators that gave everyone in my year. So whether it was you were overweight, you were really skinny, you were short, the colour of your hair, the freckles on your face, whatever it may be, you copped it.
Yeah.
And I think as a teenager, when you're growing up through those years, you're trying to find yourself. You've got so many changes developing, different things going on. You're trying to find who you are. And you've got one or two people in the corner just hounding you and giving you hell about what you're becoming.
Yeah. What you're so insecure about anyway.
The young woman you're becoming, or the young man that you're becoming.
Yeah.
And I remember once I did try and I spoke to the teacher and said, look, he's giving me a really hard time. He's bullying me. The teacher then went and spoke to the person. Then my bully came back and just said, oh, you're such a dibber-dobber, aren't you? Like, why would you even, what a sook. Why would you even go to the teacher and dobber me? So that turned it into being even worse, and I just copped more crap for trying to help myself.
So was there any positive messages or options for students like yourself to help you get through that? Was there anything in the school that anyone, apart from going to the teachers and saying they're bullying me, was there anybody that you could confide in and who would help at that stage?
So I think, I believe in schools now they have programs and there's well-being, and I think there's sort of mental health support, and there's these wonderful channels and things now, but none of that was there when I was in school. Yeah. Late 90s. And really your friends, I wasn't confident talking to mum and dad. The teacher did nothing. We didn't have any programs. So I suppose a friend or two, I could kind of just, gee, he's horrible. Yeah. Gee, he's an asshole. Yeah. And because they were probably copying it as well. Yeah. A little bit. Difference was they could say, well, get lost, pay off sort of thing. Yep. Whereas the difference was all that bullying, all that verbal abuse, mental abuse just went straight in. It was like a sponge. It was like I literally absorbed every bit of negative talk that could have been possibly said about me was soaked up in a sponge.
And you took it to heart.
Absolutely. Yeah. 1000%.
So in hindsight, what effect did the bullying have, now that you can look back on it, on your mental health and going forward from there?
So, yeah, not hindsight is a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
Not real.
it is.
Oh, hindsight. Oh, couldn't I have more of that? Not realizing actually till many years on that that bullying turning into low self-esteem, no self-confidence, or very little. The decisions I then went on to make in my life were the wrong ones, weren't right. So it was in relationships. So boyfriends that treated me terribly because, well, you just put up with it because I don't love myself, so I need someone else to love me. And if they treat me like crap, then, well, so be it. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm not worth it.
I'm not worth it.
Yeah.
Not worthy, not loving, wow, I don't deserve to be treated like crap. I just stayed with them because I didn't have the confidence to say, please don't speak to me like that. Please don't treat me like that. Give me respect. Show me respect. I just copped it. I didn't know any different.
And which is a pile-on to your self-esteem and your self-loathing. It just makes it worse and worse, doesn't
Yes.
it? It just sort of, in your own head, justifies it. It said, oh, he treats me like that because I deserve it. And then the more that you take it, the more you think you deserve it as well. So
Sadly, yeah.
yeah. So what were your career goals after high school?
So career goals, so year 11, 12, I did move school. So my school actually stopped at year 10 back then and moved to a more sort of independent school, which, again, the bullies, all different, totally different class. I think I had one that came with me, maybe two from high school, from my previous school. And the bullying just started up again with a girl that just, again, and so sadly, just to add on to that, Tim, with that bullying, then my marks, I struggled in school and my marks weren't great. In turn, they're not going, oh, okay, I'd love to go to university and I'll do this. I want to aspire to be this and aspire to be this and kick these goals and do this, and wasn't even a thing. It was just, okay, let me just get through year 11 and 12, pass the test, pass the exams.
And get the hell out of there.
Yeah, so my teacher, my hospitality teacher actually said, Jacinta, you're a sort of extroverted person, big personality, that sort of thing. Why don't you look at hospitality? So my teacher, actually, hospitality teacher, actually opened up that path, because I actually honestly didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have any big aspirations or dreams or, doctor, lawyer, teacher, builder, whatever. So then I went on to do an advanced diploma of hospitality management. I then, I was in the field, hospitality, and then probably 5-6 years later went on to do, my teacher called me back to do teaching training and assessment, did a certificate, training and assessment at TAFE, to then actually teach hospitality. Yeah, so, and very rewarding. Yeah.
But then along the way somewhere, you got into modelling.
Yes.
So tell us about the world of modelling, especially through the eyes of someone who has a lived experience of bullying. Was it in your eyes more of the same when you got in there, or was it different again?
So I started modelling at probably age 15 or 16, so bridal fairs in Albury. So, and that was all a very positive experience, and loved that, and wearing big dresses and just feeling like a princess, getting dressed up. And I then, wasn't till probably my mid-20s that I actually moved to Sydney and joined an agency in Sydney. And the first thing I had to do was lose 10 kilos. Now, some people would probably, if I was standing up, I'm not an overly big girl by any means, and that was something that, okay, well, Jacinta, this is what you want to do. You love modelling. This is your passion.
How did they tell you that you needed to lose weight? Was that it? Straight, you need to lose 10 kilos.
So I jumped on the scales.
Yep.
And my agent said, now, Jacinta, if you want to be successful, if you want to take this seriously, that number there, minus it by 10. That's our goal, starting now. I went, okay, well, that's what I need to do. Okay, let's get into this. The dieting was, I think, 1 or 2 litres of Diet Coke, and I'm going to say no breakfast, maybe a bit of lettuce for lunch if I was lucky, and then dinner was just a tiny little salad with maybe a tiny bit of protein, a little bit of meat. I was starving.
And this is basically being forced to do this to further your career.
Yes.
Can't further your career unless you do this.
Yes.
Obviously, did you get down to the weight that you needed to?
So from 70 kilos, my weight of, I think, 60 kilos I had to get down to. I think I got to maybe 63 kilos, and the rib cage, so the protruding of my rib cage and seeing bones, was a little bit confronting, because I love food. I love exercise for my mental health. Exercise is huge for me to keep my mental health in check. I wasn't allowed to run, because running actually puts on muscle, and I had to be this completely lean, sort of stick figure type thing. And, I like tone, like to have a bit of a muscle, jogging, all that kind of thing. So that was, it was, and I had to, unfortunately, so I think, Tim, from the control, so there was again an element of, okay, Jacinta, do this. Okay, I'll do it. Not realising really there's manipulation, there's there's bullying here, there's a bit of mental abuse,
coercion,
all of this, and it's not really that great to, you know what I mean? It's not really healthy. We're not going down a good path here. And I stopped it. I said no. I said I can't do this anymore. My anxiety, my panic attacks were coming back, something shocking, each morning, just waking up and just feeling just this sense of dread. From there, I was the worst person ever. So my agent said, well, you've mucked me around, you've stuffed me up, how could you waste my time, how could you do this? I was the worst person ever. Then, of course, made me feel even worse about myself. As the days, sort of weeks went on, my mental health deteriorated even more, and my mother and sister and one of my best friends, Rebecca, put me into psychiatric ward, so into hospital, into mental health hospital, because I experienced, which I didn't realise was my first mental breakdown.
That's something we've got in common. My anxiety put me in hospital as well, so I know exactly how that works, of that dread of that waking up in the morning and not being able to face the day. And I understand that then, especially if people are expecting you to be somewhere and you have to drag yourself out and you're late and all those things start happening, and totally understand how that goes on. And then that anxiety is just ripping your heart out. It really is. It's just, it hurts, doesn't it? The anxiety hurts. If people don't understand about anxiety, it's just this thing that's there gnawing at you constantly, that the worst thing in the world is going to happen to you constantly. I think, Tim, everyone's probably
experience may be a tiny bit different, maybe, I guess, to how I feel in that moment, to how you feel, and then to the next person, how they feel. But what I think the scariest thing was realizing, okay, so I'd wake up, so I'd have this just shocking panic, just afraid. I remember telling my mum, I'm just so scared. I'm just so frightened. I think what I'd actually meant in that moment, and this was whether at home or in hospital, mum coming and visiting me in hospital, was a mental breakdown. And I actually now, the bit of research I've done and loving to read on the brain and read on mental health and trauma and different things like that, the brain, the executive function of the brain actually switches off. So it goes to sleep. It just says, there's too much stress here. I can't cope. And the reptilian part of the brain, so the oldest part of our brain, is activated, where literally, if there's a tiger coming, I just need to keep you safe, Jacinta. So not actually realizing that was what my brain was actually doing. Wake up in the morning, panic, just sweating, panic, so scared, so fearful. To have a shower, get up, have a shower, make breakfast, get dressed was like climbing Everest. And I think if you haven't experienced breakdown, anxiety, that kind of thing, you can't actually imagine how terrifying, how horrific that feeling actually is. And to explain it to someone, sounds like you're mad.
The explanation is even harder, isn't it? Like you said, the executive part of your brain just shuts down. With me, my whole brain shut down and I collapsed. That's what my brain was saying to me. Too much anxiety. Your reptilian is either fight or flight. Mine's saying, no, just go. Just lie down, just shut down. So I collapsed and was unconscious. And got taken off to hospital and ambulance a couple of times. That happened to me. It was just, my anxiety was just saying, too much, Tim. You can't live like with this stress of this anxiety, and you need to figure out a way to stop it. You really need to figure out a way of stopping it. I know we're talking about the bad parts. We'll get to the good parts eventually.
Yes, of course.
And then, unfortunately, you had a short and abusive marriage in your 20s as well.
Yes, so this actually was just before, so sort of early 20s. So that kind of links in, Tim, with the low self-esteem and the low confidence and that type of sort of thing. I was dating a man, and who then became my fiance. And the craziest thing is that when he proposed to me, I actually got two answers. My heart told me an answer, and then my head also gave me an answer. It was like, it was like time stopped.
Yeah.
He proposed to me, and my head said, yes, amazing, wonderful, beautiful, let's do it. It'll be fantastic and looked after and loved and beautiful life. And my heart at the same time said, please don't marry this monster. Please don't marry this horrible man, because Jacinta, you can do so much better. Sadly, I went with my head. I got married. I was actually probably in fear that if I would have said no, he would have left me maybe in Melbourne where we were on holidays. I thought if I would have said no, I think he would have just dumped me and left me there. So very much fear, low self-esteem, and not making and not listening to my heart, not making the right decision. So
after going through those things, when was the switch? When was the Jacinta? And like you said it briefly there.
Yep.
I'm better than this. There's something better out there for me. When did that switch come that you go, no, I'm important. I'm the person that I need to look after and not worry about other people, what they say about me, or the words they use towards me. Was there a switch that happened to you? Or was it a maturing of your emotional state?
Yeah, Tim, I think probably that second one you've said, the maturing and going on with age, I think of realising, oh my gosh, what on earth, what have I been through? This has happened, domestic violence in my marriage and all that type of thing, and then the modelling didn't work out, and then hospitalisation. A lot of clinical psychology work, a wonderful psychiatrist, supportive family and friends, and you very slowly so your brain, even though I talk about these terrible things, and I think if someone's going through this right now, oh wow, I feel like I'm in this moment of I'm having a breakdown, or I just can't get out of this depression or these panic attacks. Our brain is so powerful. It's so intelligent. It's so smart that it will restore itself. It will heal. It will repair itself. So as I'm speaking and these sentences are coming out of my mouth right now, I'm using the executive part of my brain. I've had 2 mental breakdowns, twice in hospital, 2 hospitalizations. My first one, if I can add, the mental health nurse actually said to me, my first visit, he said, Jacinta, what do you do for work? And I said, hospitality and things. And I said, and I've got a dream too. One day I'm going to go and speak in schools about my experience. Oh, Jacinta, I don't think you'll get there. You can't really put a sentence together, let alone go and present in a school.
So at that moment, was that a challenge? Or did you have enough maturity at that stage to go, I don't believe you?
So, Tim, being in the hospital at that point, I think dug a hole even deeper of no self-worth, no validation, no anything. Now working so hard on myself with clinical psychologists, with healing courses, with exercise, with yoga, with meditation, with reading, with all these wonderful tools and support networks. I actually love telling that story because I hope he's watching. Yeah. I hope he's listening.
And that's why we're here. We're sharing stories right now. So when did you first share your story about all this? Because like you said that you were going through life and you were keeping it all to yourself and not opening up to people.
Yep.
Was it after the hospitalization period and with the psychiatrist and all that therapy, or did you start opening up before that and found out that it was therapeutic for you to open up and share your story?
So my late 20s, probably 6-7 years ago now. So in bed, fast asleep, woke up one morning, 2-3 in the morning, had this adrenaline, like excitement.
Yeah.
Excitement. And I kind of woke up and went, oh, what is this? What's going on? And it was my subconscious, I suppose my intuition saying, Jacinta, I need you to share your stories. I need you to go in. I need you to tell people of your struggles, of your hardships, of your hard times, and I want you to write a book. And so this kind of all just came flooding in at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
But I was so excited, and I've chipped away at it ever since. So it's been probably 6 years that Just Another Girl project has been bubbling away. My mental health has had ups and downs a lot during that time. So I'll do a bit of presenting and then I'll sort of, I'll pause it for a bit because maybe the mental health isn't quite as strong as and powerful as where I need it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very therapeutic for me, yes. And I just, it's incredible.
It's interesting that I find that with a lot of people is that sharing their story and then getting up and telling a lot of people is so therapeutic about getting it out there.
Yes.
And then I suppose the other part of it is that you hope that somebody else doesn't go through what you've been through because they've got a little bit of information from your story to put up their hand and say, it's happening to me, I need some help. That's really important, isn't it?
And that probably, Tim, is the most, I think one of the key important things that I take away is that I want to share my story because I don't want anyone else to go through the hell, and I feel like it was hell that I did. Please don't make the same choices that I did because they were wrong, and they led me to a lot of heartache and a lot of pain.
You also, we mentioned it earlier about there's more processes in place in schools to support people who are going through bullying. Bullying's been a big topic over the last couple of years as well. So hopefully we can encourage people who are going through it to put up their hand because there are things in place to support you. And talk to your parents. Definitely talk to your parents. Don't feel that you have to do it alone because, like you said, that was unfortunately a mistake that you made of not sharing.
Yes. I think teenagers look very much myself and my partner having a couple of teenage girls as well. I think as a teen, you don't want to open up to mum and dad. I certainly didn't. Good, bad, boyfriend's this. Fighting, happy, you're a revolt. Yeah. So even if kids don't want to speak to their parents, I don't feel comfortable, go to the wellbeing teacher, go to the wellness teacher, go to the whoever or any teacher that you feel comfortable in sharing a bit of your pain or struggle with. It's okay. Please go and speak to them. I think it's 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 children are bullied in school today. It's massive. It's massive.
And we know the effects that it has on people's mental health further down the path.
Yes.
And especially if you don't get out of that pattern, like you said, you're in a pattern of a cycle.
Yep.
Can continue for years and years and years.
Yes.
If you don't get some help and get out of that cycle somehow. So, but at least putting your hand up and saying, I need help. So, yeah. You've already mentioned some of it. So the strategies you use now that keep you on the look. We all know that mental health is not linear. It's not going to go in a straight line. You're going to have bad days and good days.
Yep.
So what are the strategies that you use on your bad days? What do you look towards to help you out during the bad days?
So I think, Tim, awareness. So through great psychology, through having that support network of not being able to look after my mental health on my own, seeing professionals that are there to help you, give you those tools. So it's that awareness of going, okay, whether it may be waking up in the morning, whether it may be of an afternoon, feeling whether a sense of dread, feeling overwhelmed, feeling whether the anxiety or depression or something's coming back. One is awareness.
Yeah.
How am I feeling? Okay, here's that feeling again.
And you find that's really hard for some people because they've lived with that feeling for so long that it's nearly becomes accepted way of living.
A norm.
It is, and like you said, there needs to be, and it needs to be I think a professional who needs to say no. That's not the way you should be feeling. You can feel different, to open them up and go, oh, okay, because I've been living with this some people have been living with it for 20 years.
Yes.
And they think it's just life.
Yes.
And like you said, then if they can get that awareness to go, oh, hang on, maybe that's not the way I should be living, and there's things I can do about it.
Great point in that people 5, 10, 20, 30 years live in this fog of, this is my life, I'm miserable, I hate life, it's horrible, it can't get any better. It can. Yeah. With the right tools, the right support network, it can. So it's, I think the answer to your question is, it may be so if I'm feeling a little bit of overwhelm, and it may even be with work. Say I've got a lot on at work and that bit of overwhelm. It may be a short meditation of a morning. So it's the breath. So it's trying to just sort of calm, center, whether it's a visualization, a walk, a jog, and so it's keeping in. And Jackie, actually, my psychologist, it's actually keeping within a window of tolerance, which I think is a great explanation of we don't want to go super high, hyper or hypo. Mm-hmm. I just want to try and keep in this nice little equilibrium of I'm doing it. Yeah. I'm doing life and I'm okay. Yeah. And not deep, dark depression and anxiety to this hyper arousal of panic attacks, and then eventually a breakdown.
And you mentioned it too, is that looking at all the things that are good for your physical health are also good for your mental health, which is
absolutely
diet and exercise, meditation, mindfulness, reading, just simple things like that you tend to not do when you're going through a dark patch.
Yes.
The things you really need to concentrate. Oh, sleep. That was the other one. Sleep. When people's sleep is interrupted, there's nearly no way that you're going to get out of it unless you get back into a good sleep pattern. So
yes.
Yeah, it's really important. And I think people forget about that, is that sleep is so important. Nearly more important than some of the others all put together sometimes, because you just can't...
Agree, yeah.
You just can't function without the sleep.
Functioning, yeah. In some of my harder times, sleep was... I was just so exhausted, but waking up at very early hours of the morning, just with panic, and you just... It's so hard to concentrate and to go about and go about your day and live your day when you've got fatigue, you're just you're upset, you're breaking down. It is very hard. Again, there are tools, and maybe it's making changes, but it's having those support networks and seeking for help, knowing, okay, I'm struggling sleeping, this is happening. How are you going to help yourself? No one can do it for you.
No. We get a lot of that with stories that people come in and say, I'm only doing this because of the support of my psychiatrist and family and this. And I always say to them, no, you're the one doing it. They're just providing the platform for you to do it, but you actually have to physically and mentally go and do it yourself, because they use that as a bit of a crutch sometimes, but they need the support to go, no, you're doing it. Praise yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back because you're doing it. You're the one who's pulling yourself up by the bootstraps to get out of a bad situation into a good situation. And you can't pay anybody to do that for you. You need to do it. So be proud of that situation and being able to do it. So.
And that is hard, Tim. It's to... feeling in such a dark place and going, oh my gosh, I've now got to go exercise, and I don't want to exercise. I don't want to move off the couch. I don't want to move out of bed.
Exactly.
And that's where I think it's, whether it's family members or friends or something that can at least encourage you,
push you out
but knowing your worth. I actually find, Tim, that each day, and I wish I thought of hindsight many years ago, being able to wake up each day is a gift. To live life each day, we don't realise, I think, how lucky we are, how extraordinary that we get to walk earth. Mum and Dad, gave me life. Their parents gave them life, and life is actually such a gift. And I think if you change the mentality of how you see life, how you view it, of not, today's another shit day, I'm feeling like crap, I hate my life, I'm struggling. Life is actually, it's incredible. if you choose to see it like
Oh,
that.
definitely. The particular clinical psychologist who I listen to, who says that your light burns brighter than any catastrophe.
Yeah.
And if you can get that into your head, that even though that's so dark and so making you feel so bad, you're brighter than that. Your potential is much, much stronger than that darkness. And that keeps me going. I think of that the same way as you think about what you've just said then. And it really holds me up. It really does.
Yeah.
And to get into that mindset that I'm strong. I am strong.
Yeah.
And dark things that have happened to me, I'm still here. Still living life, still waking up in the morning, exactly like you said. So what's the one thing that you tell the students? The one thing you try and get into their head every time that you give a presentation?
Oh, Tim, it's funny. There's many, but I think there's only one of you. You're unique. Don't try and be anybody else, because you only just lower, your worth, that you're less than, not actually being, truly loving and accepting, going, oh my gosh, how rare am I? There's only one of me in the however many billion people that walk this planet with us. What a gift. So unique and so rare, and just to love yourself, to treasure yourself, because no one else can do it for you. This is the hardest thing and I still have times when the self-esteem or the ego may take a bit of a hit, and I've kind of got to go, whoa, Jacinta, bring it back. It's okay. I love you. I support you. You've got this.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You're still here through your journey, through what you had to go through, but I'm still here. I made it. And because I think especially the teenage girls that I speak to, social media, which is probably a different topic for another day, but it's Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and TikTok and all these things just play havoc.
They just skew the whole thing, don't they?
Body image, self-esteem, all that type of thing. So it's whatever they can do to love themselves and just respect themselves and know what's wrong and what's right.
Yeah.
Relationship, friends, that's just so important. That's what I wish I had when I was a teenager, because I needed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, if that answers your question.
That does. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jacinta. Thank you for using your story to guide other people, because that's so important for other people to go, oh, I relate to you and I can use the information in your story to help me through my bad times as well. And hopefully that gets through to, we know it won't get through to all the kids, but hopefully a lot of those kids that you speak to. And thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story with us today.
Thank you, Tim, so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you so much.